All praises to the Most High, Yahweh Ba'ashem and Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rahak Wadash. Double honors to the elder apostles and elder bishops of Great Millstone who rule well. Peace and salutations to the hopeful elect, scattered throughout the four corners of the earth, laboring in this truth in all sincerity. I want to start off here with a fair use disclaimer. Fair use is a U.S. copyright law doctrine that allows limited use of copyrighted material without the copyright holder's permission. It's a vital part of copyright law that balances the system and supports the constitutional goal of promoting the arts and sciences. Fair use permits using copyrighted material for purposes like criticism, news reporting, teaching, research, scholarship, or commentary. It applies to limited portions of a work, including quotes. With that being said, I'm going to start off with Revelation 19 and 19. And I saw the beast and the kings of the earth and their armies gathered together to make war against him that sat on the horse and against his army. Listen very carefully to what this guy says here. I want to play 1 minute of this. This is a 15-minute, 22-second video. I'm going to play approximately 1 minute and 3 seconds of this. So starting at 11:25, listen to what he says up until about the 12:25 mark.
Let's start off, it would behave very differently. And just think about ants in the crack of a pavement looking up and seeing a biker that is passing by. They would have a hard time conversing with the biker or doing anything that would change the path of the biker. And we might be in the same situation, and we better find how we want to respond to different scenarios. And of course, the devil is in the details. We need to know as much as possible about the other side before we decide what to do. It's not clear we can communicate with the other side. It's not clear we can protect ourselves, but we should be ready. And frankly, I think such an encounter will bring humanity to a better place, because as of now, we are just focusing most of our attention on a daily basis on conflicts here on Earth. If there is a threat from the sky, it might bring people together because we are all in the same boat.
Right. I want to ask you real.
Okay, that was an excerpt from the video here. We should be ready. Could this be an alien object? Fox 10 Phoenix, and the host of that particular show is anchor Brian Webb and executive producer Trenton Hooker, and they were interviewing Harvard professor Dr. Avi Loeb, and he was basically giving some insight as to how the world's armies could potentially respond in the event that 3i Atlas is potentially hostile, at least in that 1 minute excerpt that I just played. So, listening to what he was stating, I don't know if that's false bravado or, him just talking, but don't let it fool you that Esau is shook basically at the thought of this being anything other than a comet. And I am talking about 3i Atlas here. That is what the topic of that particular video was about. So you heard him make the comparison of mankind being as like ants in this particular analogy, with 3i Atlas being someone riding a bike past those particular ants. And in terms of communication, that's what it would be like. As he stated, an ant trying to draw the attention of someone riding a bike. But the thought of the world's armies banding together to fight against a so-called alien threat is not just the script of a Hollywood movie such as Independence Day or War of the Worlds. It's scriptural, and it's a part of end-time prophecy. So we'll take a look at Revelation 16 and 14 here. and we will read 14 through 16. KJV. For they are the spirits of devils, working miracles, which go forth unto the kings of the earth, and of the whole world, to gather them to the battle of the great day of Alashajah. Behold, I come as a thief. Blessed is he that watcheth and keepeth his garments, lest he walk naked and they see his shame. And that was Hamashiach Yahushai, verse 15. I'll read it again. Behold, I come as a thief. Blessed is he that watcheth and keepeth his garments, lest he walk naked and they see his shame. And he gathered them together into a place called in the Hebrew tongue Armageddon. And I'll go quickly into this particular word here, Armageddon. The hill or city of Megiddo in Revelation 16 and 16, the scene of a struggle of good and evil, is suggested by the battle plan of Estra-Elon, which was famous for two great victories of Barak over the Canaanites and of Gideon over the Midianites, and for two great disasters, the death of Saul and Josiah, hence in Revelation a place of great slaughter, the scene of terrible retribution upon the wicked. The RSV translates the name as Har-Mageddon, i.e. the hill, as Ar is the city of Megiddo. And it's during this war of Armageddon where Hamashiach Yahushai would gain vengeance against those who not only come against Jerusalem, starting with his elect, but also against those who pierced him when he was crucified. And we can find that in Zechariah 12, verses 9 through 11. KJV. And it shall come to pass in that day that I will seek to destroy all the nations that come against Jerusalem, and I will pour upon the house of David and upon the inhabitants of Jerusalem the spirit of grace and supplications, and they shall look upon me whom they have pierced, and they shall mourn for him as one mourneth for his only son, and shall be in bitterness for him, as one that is in bitterness for his firstborn. And we can see the subheading for this is actually stating in the NLT, this is a future deliverance for Jerusalem. So they're going to try to use their military aircraft and, their new Space Force with their kinetic ground to space missiles and non-kinetic weapons such as jamming and directed energy lasers. Jamming is used to disrupt communications. Good luck with that. And directed energy or lasers or high-powered microwaves that can disrupt or damage sensors and equipment. And this is the type of technology that they're going to attempt to use to fight the Most High, Yahweh Bashem, Yahushai, and the angels. And we know that all of this is basically like specks of dust to the Most High, Yahweh Bashem, Yahushai. And it's ironic that Dr. Avi Loeb, if I'm pronouncing his name correct, it's ironic that in that 1-minute excerpt I played, he made the comparison of man being like ants and Three-Eye Atlas being like someone riding a bike and the ants trying to communicate with the person riding the bike. Because if you ever seen War of the Worlds, the 1954 59 version, if I'm correct, as well as or if you've read the book, or if you saw the newer movie with Tim Robbins and Tom Cruise, there's a particular scene where Tim Robbins, and this is also in the book as well, and the older 1950s version of the movie, there's a particular scene where Tim Robbins is talking to Tom Cruise, and he says, and this is right after the initial attack and then the counterattack by the humans, and Tim Robbins says, this isn't a war, no more than there's a war between man and ants. This is a slaughter. And he was absolutely correct. And that's basically also, that's also scriptural. A lot of this stuff they get straight out of the Bible. They actually read the scriptures and then they make these particular types of movies and send out these types of hints almost. It's almost it's actually biblical prophecy on the right side, on the right hand side, but coming from the heathen, this would be left hand prophecy, almost predictive programming, as you may. But once again, he stated this isn't a war, no more than there's a war between man and ants. This is a slaughter. So we read Isaiah 34, chapter 2. For the indignation of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai is upon all nations, and his fury upon all their armies. He hath utterly destroyed them. He hath delivered them to the slaughter. And you see it. It's almost verbatim. You take what the gentleman said at the beginning of this video, comparing man to ants and three-eyed atlas to someone riding a bike. You take the movie quotes. This isn't a war, no more than there's a war between man and ants. This is a slaughter. And then you actually can see how it's coming right out of the scriptures. And this train of thought, though, is nothing new to Esau and the rest of the heathen. Back in 1987, at a UN speech, then President Ronald Reagan actually mentioned this as well. Ronald Reagan basically stated that if an alien threat was to happen, it would actually unite all of humanity. So let's take a look at this here. U.S. user clip, Reagan 1987 UN speech, alien threat. This is the section of the speech where Reagan mentions the concept of an alien threat uniting humanity.
Forget how much unites all the members of humanity. Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world. And yet, I ask you, is not an alien force already among us? What could be more alien to the universal aspirations of our peoples than war and the threat of war? 2 centuries ago, in a hall much smaller than this one, in Philadelphia, Americans met to draft.
All right, so these jokers really don't understand that Yahweh is a man of war. Yahweh is his name as pursuant to Exodus 15:3. And the Most High Yahweh Bashem Yahushai wants all the smoke with the heathen nations. And just like during the time of the first Exodus, the Most High hardened Pharaoh's heart, which made Pharaoh not submit or release the Israelites. And as he was in pursuit of the Israelites, the Most High had his heart hardened, so he would not withdraw his troops, but instead he commanded his troops to move forward with an attack. And we know that all of Pharaoh's armies were destroyed, which made the name Yahweh feared throughout all the countries. That magnified his name and reputation. And we see the same thing playing out right now in real time as we prepare for this second Exodus. Once again, the Most High's name and his reputation will be known all over the world. As the kingdom is established right here on earth, he is going to harden the leaders of these countries, the military generals. He's going to harden all of their hearts. They're going to come full steam ahead in an attempt to fight the Most High, in an attempt to fight Yahushai and the angels. And you know that Yahushai is coming with Michael and the angels, and they're going to try to fight this head on. And they don't stand a chance. It's not going to be like a Hollywood ending where the humans win. No, this is total destruction here. You're actually getting destroyed and immediately going into captivity once that's all said and done. So let's go to Joel chapter 3. And we can start from verse 9. And I'll read this in the KJV. I'll read 9 through 12. Proclaim ye this among the Gentiles, prepare war. Wake up the mighty men, let all the men of war draw near, let them come up. Beat your plowshares into swords, and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say, I am strong. Assemble yourselves, and come all ye heathen, and gather yourselves together round about. Thither cause thy mighty ones to come down, O Yahweh. Let the heathen be wakened and come up to the valley of Jehoshaphat. For there will I sit to judge all the heathen round about. As a matter of fact, I'll read this in the NLT as well, the same verses 9 through 12. Say to the nations far and wide, get ready for war. Call out your best warriors. Let all your fighting men advance for the attack. Right, the Most High is going to harden their hearts. So when they see this, their hearts are going to be hardened. They're not going to cower and flee. No, the Most High wants them to fight. He wants them to send up a couple of nukes. He wants them to use whatever kinetic energy they have from Space Force to try to fight them. All that's going to make the Most High's name, Yahweh, magnified. It's going to magnify the name Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai. Hammer your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears. Train even your weaklings to be warriors. And that's exactly what's going to happen. You're going to have people that's actually going to help take up arms. You're going to have people walking down whatever dirt roads they're walking down and taking their shotguns and shooting up towards these things there, so the Most High is going to harden their hearts. This is going to be a great victory, a great triumph. Verse 11, come quickly, all you nations everywhere, gather together in the valley. And now, O Yahweh, call out your warriors. And like I mentioned, that's Yahweh Shai. Yahweh Shai is the chief warrior. He is the Messiah who's going to be leading this attack. And he's going to be, and Michael, I should say, is going to be right next to him, as well as all of the other angels that are coming to participate in this triumph here. So we look at verse 12. Let the nations be called to arms. Let them march to the valley of Jehoshaphat. There, I, Yahweh, will sit to pronounce judgment on them all. So once again, this triumph is going to be beyond any words. I can't really use any words to describe it. I can say spectacular, I can say awesome, but maybe 2 Samuel chapter 23 verses 10 and 12 sums it up much better than what I could. I'll paraphrase it, and Yahweh wrought a great victory that day, and that's exactly what it's going to be. It's going to be Yahweh is going to, he's going to be triumphant. And Yahweh wrought a great victory that day, and that comes from 2 Samuel 23 verses 10 and 12. Like I said, I can't come up with any words to describe how magnificent this triumph here is going to be. This is going to be the victory here that is going to magnify the Most High's name, Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai, all over the earth again. So, and this is going right into the kingdom. This is leading right into the kingdom. So this time, the way, people forgot the Most High's name over the millennia, people were able to change his name over the years through the power and spirit of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai. We have received that name once again, and we do know that the name is Yahweh, and the name of his only begotten son is Yahweh Shai, and that is pursuant to the Lashon Kodash. So with that being said, I'll end this here with Deuteronomy 32 verses 34 and 35. And I'll read this in the NLT. Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai says, am I not storing up these things, sealing them away in my treasury? I will take revenge. I will pay them back. In due time, their feet will slip. Their day of disaster will arrive, and their destiny will overtake them. I hope this has been edifying and reaches the ears it's supposed to reach. Shalom.